Hello and welcome to Teacher Needs Drink Podcast. I am Elvis, your host. I'm here to let you know that this is a not safe for work podcast. We are teachers at the end of the week and really the end of our ropes, and we'd like to be able to talk honestly and openly about education without having to worry about losing our jobs. So we'll be using pseudonyms throughout the podcast, hence the Elvis. I'd like to give a big shout out to our patrons over at Patreon. That's right, we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get your name read at the podcast, you get to join our special group. There's over 100 exclusive episodes you can only listen to through the Patreon. It's really awesome, and you can even do it on Spotify now, which is the shit. You should check it out. But I want to thank all of my patrons, so here we go. A big thank you to William P., Justin M., Jessica C., Inga, Kaylee, Terry J., Tracy B., Miss Wonderstats, Quentin P., Ekebex, Mistress Mischief, Natasha S., Miss Anthropy, Princess Buttercup, Dragon Lady, Helena C., Aaron B., Stephanie S., Texas Teacher Kristen, James Nally J., Samantha D., Lisa C., Rachel, Jen Genie, Exhausted Band Director, Kimberly K., Jessica A., Swiffle Ev Owners, Amanda F., Ariana L., Physics Runner, Steph, Michael M., Aldridge T., La Scorpionita, Britt M., Teresa H., Biker Teach, Christina B., Jason F., Abby B., Sarah B., Regina N., Josie S., Sam B., Mary E., Kristen W., Vanessa J., Mary C., RJ Ark, Johanna H., Irma A., Nimi, and Sarah N. Big thank you to all of you guys, and thank you for listening, supporting us. I'd also like to thank our sponsor at Lud Lamb Dramatics. If you are a theater teacher or no one in your building, go to ludlamdramatics.com to get some of the best educational theater classroom resources. They are amazing. They have shirts, posters, buttons, plans, all kinds of things. Check them out at Lud Lamb Dramatics. All right, friends, today we had a really good recording session. It was myself, Bunny O'Hare, Count Chocolate, and Lucille Lane. And Lucille Lane's best friend, or one of her friends, showed up today and helped out. That's Miss Tori, who you hear in the back, and she'll be featured more in the next couple of weeks. She was pretty cool. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoy episode number 207. Cheers. Oh, that was a good one. All right, welcome to Teacher Needs a Drink Podcast. I am Elvis, your host, and today I am so excited to say we are rejoined by the wonderful Lucille Lane!
Hi.
And she's back, and also joining us today, Mr. Count Chocolate!
Hey, we're counting all the blessings today. I'm glad I'm here with you.
Oh, I'm glad you're here too. And also, last but not least, Miss Bunny O'Hare!
Hey, Elvis. Hey, folks.
Oh, folks. Oh, we are almost to like the completely shut down part of the fall semester. We're not quite there, but we hit that you do Halloween, and it's really fucking hard to get there and still care. And we know we're about to hit Thanksgiving, and then it's like, boom, Thanksgiving, winter break, and then it's New Year. And if we could just make it, like, do that. It feels like when you're falling and you know you can't stop yourself from falling, like the momentum has you, and no matter how fast or slow you're getting and your limbs are moving, you're still going to hit the ground. So you're trying to do it as painlessly as possible. That's kind of how I feel about this. When there's momentum, I'm just like, it's like going on a skateboard. You've lost control of it.
They say the safest way to do that is to just try to relax all your muscles. So,
If one more admin tells me just to relax and go with it, I just can't.
At some point, you do a dead man's float, and I'm floating. I'm here. I'm not dead, but I'm here.
Yeah. There comes a weird phase of acceptance where you're just like, okay, this is the situation, and we're going to try to make it through. I hope you guys are doing all right. Count, how are you doing right now? You're talking about you just hit the scholarship deadline. We talked about that in some of our other podcasts, but you actually just hit it. How are you, man?
I'm better now. That November 1st deadline, for those of you who have high school children or remember this from high school, for that early decision, early action for whatever university you're applying to, I had 45 or 50 rec letters that were due specifically by that date. And let me tell you, some of our lovely children, they wait until Halloween to say, oh, Mr. Chocolate, can you please write me a rec letter? And if I don't, I feel like I am then pegged as the bad guy who did not write the rec letter that was going to get them into that Ivy League school that they waited 4 hours before a deadline was due to apply to. So we're past that. So now I'm smiling again.
Good. I like it when you're smiling.
I'm smiling.
it's one of those, like when your friends are smiling, it makes it a little easier sometimes just to breathe when it keeps the air to the room. Buddy, how are you doing? You just hit Halloween with the foo-foo? This was not Foo-Foo's first Halloween.
No, this was technically the third one, but
What?
she was so tiny, like she was a newborn for the first one. So I don't think that really counts.
This
And then last year
podcast
she
is
kind of-
older than the Foo-Foo. That's weird.
It is. It is older than Foo-Foo.
Okay, keep going. I'm so sorry.
No, that's
That
okay.
just
But
kind of blew my brain for a second.
this was the first year that she was kind of old enough to really be interested in it at all. And she was very into dressing up like a butterfly,
Mhm.
but she was not interested in strangers. So
Good.
we mostly just fluttered around the neighborhood like a butterfly and looked at some decorations. So.
Good. And Lucille, what are you trying to do right now? What's your goals at the moment? What are you at?
It's a loaded question. I'm just trying.
Just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming.
I get it 100%. You are swimming amazingly. You
Yeah.
want some fancy brute spumante?
Excuse me, you knew me already. Absolutely.
So we're going to go ahead and do this message that came from the message board. So if anyone out there has something they want to share with the podcast or some question they'd like to ask us, go ahead. You can send it through Patreon. You can send it through Facebook. You can send it through just about anywhere. And it will find our way into our hands. So this is from Care Bear.
Care Bear.
Hello, Care Bear. All right, she says, "Hi, Elvis and crew. I have successfully made the transition from high school to elementary school counselor and love my job. At Count Chocolate, it is a breath of fresh air from the stress I was feeling as a high school counselor. I'm in my second year, and it feels great. I looped with my students, and it's a game changer. I know at least 90% of the students in any given classroom of my assigned grade levels. Yes, there is stress, but it's a different kind of stress. The kids are much cuter, most days, and I don't have to hunt them down to meet with me for individual appointments. They're usually begging to have lunch with me. The attendance issues are sad and worrisome because it's not the student's fault, and factors are completely outside of the student's control. Also, in most cases, the students really want to be at school. On the lighter side, there's a lot more opportunity to dress up and be goofy with the kids, and the stories are just as entertaining. The questions I have are, to those who work in the elementary setting, when students become elevated, running from their classrooms or being destructive, who usually comes to your rescue? In my school, counselors are the first response to de-escalate. This gets awkward because I often feel like I'm walking a tightrope between being a port of discipline and trying to support the students so they can regulate their big feelings to stay in the learning environment. In my first year, from August to December, there were weeks where 8 hours of my week was spent assisting with de-escalating, and I was unable to schedule small groups or student appointments for fear I would be called to handle a crisis. I have 2 phones in my office, one connected to the outside world, and the other I nicknamed my Batman phone. This is the phone system in every classroom. There's no caller ID, and usually it means there's a crisis to attend to on the other line. My second question has some background. We have several students this year with high needs, and as a result, I'm added to several of their text threads for teachers who are in need of assistance. I've come up with my own nicknames for the students so I don't use students' names in the text. For example, Elf, a young student who does not like to be called sir but prefers buddy, and he has a pointy nose. Dorothy, an upper grade student who struggles with weather anxiety. Gizmo, a young student who can turn a classroom upside down in a matter of minutes. The transformation to Gremlin is unreal. Casper, an upper grade student who is so pale because they didn't spend too much time outside due to weather anxiety. Please tell me this happens in other schools. I'm also curious if you have codes for student behavior. Perhaps, for example, we have code Nike for kids who would take off and run around the school, and they have plenty of ground to cover. Thanks so much for all the content you produce. Congrats again on 200 episodes. I'm thankful to be part of this amazing community. Love, Care Bear. Well, first of all, congratulations on the transition. That sounds amazing. It sounds like you're in a good place. Count, you want to speak to the jumping?
She went from where to where?
She went from being a high school counselor to, let me scroll,
Elementary.
to elementary counselor.
Kudos to you. At that young of age, at least there's not as much of the mental health crisis. But the fact that you have 2 phones,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it literally makes me think of the song 2 Phones.
Yeah.
I got 2. No, I'm not going to sing. You can edit that out.
That's it forever.
I don't know how I would feel about a phone ringing that when I pick it up, the odds are that there's someone that needs immediate attention and I have to go running somewhere. She could be a Nike code herself, running to whatever the situation is. But we do use specific codes, but not like a Nike. I like the Casper one, but that's a lot of different anxieties of kids she's already got already. Fear of outdoors. You got fear of. It's a lot of fear, but if I'll say too, like, hey, if you think that is a good fit for you, Care Bear, please pursue it. And if it's renewing your spirit, and if it gives you hope, I will not try to persuade you to go in any other direction. I say go for it. But know your limitations, and a counselor should not always be the first call. If someone goes running out of class, it's almost a discipline issue. It's more of a administrator.
That was
Type
kind
thing
of
as
my
well?
call.
Yeah,
If we
like
had a
safety
student runner,
situation.
usually the AP was the one who usually had to go after
Yeah,
it.
AP, or I'm guessing.
If there was an aide or something there, sometimes
Yeah,
they had to
paras,
run.
but it sounds like she doesn't have a behavior unit on her
Nope.
school either.
And for having that many students, I mean, even just 5 or 6 in a population of 500 or 600, that usually will have some kind of dedicated center. Because I feel like most of the schools, I've worked at a lot of elementary, and usually for the extreme cases we might have, there was usually only 4 or 5, almost 1 or 2 per grade level. But I don't know. There weren't
Depends on the
always-
district.
That's
and the
true.
funding.
If it's Title I, there always seems to be more.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Bunny, what are your
So
thoughts
true.
on this?
I was going to say, I know just in the last few weeks, we had such a situation at my campus, and our counselors happened to all be kind of in the same area at the time. So they sort of like each took an exit to try to keep the student from like exiting the building completely. But it was definitely one of our assistant principals who, as fate would have it, was the only administrator on campus that day because the other 2 were at a meeting.
No problem.
So yeah,
That is a
he his Fitbit got a good workout that day, I'm sure. I have heard the codes for behaviors and the codes for names. I worked at a campus where if a student took off running, it was the eagle has flown.
Oh.
And then this is tacky and terrible, okay? I have had nicknames for students, and the first one that popped to mind was a student that I referred to in my head as Gretchen Wieners because she was a mean girl, but she wasn't really smart enough or hot enough to get away with it.
Oh.
So
Savage Bunny.
Mhm.
I like it.
she was something else. So I never said it to her, but in my head she was and is Gretchen Wieners.
What about you, Lucille, when you were having to deal in those situations?
I had to deal with those situations all the time because I was in special ed.
Mm-hmm.
We had a runner in our school. I mean, every day. It got to the point where no one's chased him. No one chased him. Like, no one. We just had to make sure the doors were locked, like that, the outside doors. That's it. At some point, you'd find him curled up in a corner napping because, like, he would hide. He was this little skinny kid in the 1st grade, and he would get into crevices or, like, hide. He just elopement every single day.
Oh.
Every single day. I've had, but I was also in a school with a behavior unit. So, so we had paras, I never went on those cases. I would see him and call and be like, he was spotted in, this hall or whatever. But they would eventually get to that kid. But those runners are the worst because you don't know where they're going to go and you don't know where they're like going to end up.
And they'll figure out your plan for blocking them.
They get smarter every time they elope.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time. But here's my question. I want to know what's going on with like, for instance, the kids with the nicknames. Why are they getting these phobias? Please give me feedback because I've asked this question to many other adults in my fucking life. When you were in school, did you have these kids? No, we were out doing the things and no one was afraid of weather or afraid of like.
So it's just new kinds of trauma, or just we're willing to diagnose things?
I think
before it was suck it up and go outside, kid.
Well, okay, that's a thing. Suck it up and go outside.
Yeah.
Or, we just all were kind of ingrained the same way. And I'm not saying that wasn't even a bad thing. We just kind of all knew weather is not going to hurt us,
Mm-hmm.
or this is going to happen if we get home. Like, we threw a fit when the teachers were like, oh, I'm calling home. And we're like, no, do not fucking do that. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Had anxiety about it.
Yeah.
But now we are in a spot where kids don't even want to go outside because of weather, or like they're afraid to wear a sweater that has too many itchies. Like, I'm just so perplexed by what the youth. Now, look, I know I come off sounding like one of these, boomers or whatever. But these are irrational fears. And I know that's so easy
But
for me
that's what
to
makes
say.
it a mental health issue to some degree. Or is it just because my iPad's inside
But when
and I
you
said
get-
this to my parents and so
when
I
you-
can be on my
But
iPad?
I
Right,
think that
when
has
you-
a lot to do with it.
But when you get to this point, though, if you think 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and someone can say I never witnessed any behaviors as such, I cannot think of a single child, single classmate from kindergarten through 9th grade, before you had like PE every day, that had a fear of anything that we knew of. Outside, clothing, like loud noises, none of those things ever came up in a traditional or mainstream classroom. I never saw it. I
didn't either.
I never saw students who were running and like would have a meltdown and just bolt out of class and the teacher would chase them down. I've just never seen it.
I've never seen a kid either like spit in a teacher's face and say, I'm not fucking doing that either. So I think there is a shift in the way kids are being brought up.
Mhm.
Internet,
Yeah.
making them real ballsy.
Just
I
to
mean-
play the other card on this, I think a big difference is kids who had this extreme of issues when we were in school were not mainstream.
I was going to
It
say
took a
that was
lot
my-
less to be sent to the portable classroom or the alternative school back then.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there was a much larger label or fear by parents of having your kids labeled, because that means they have to go to that classroom with those kids.
Okay.
And I think
Their
because of that,
responsibility.
when we had kids who have extreme stuff, like, no, get out. No, we're not doing that. And there's pros and cons to that. I think mainstreaming, some kids really get to learn and they get to have things they won't learn in that special classroom and they need those opportunities.
And then
But
there is the
if
opposite.
there's the classroom disruptions
Mhm.
and it's not
At what point does the least restrictive environment for one student become a hindrance to learning for the
For
others?
everyone
Yeah.
else.
And that is a real question, especially when their safety is involved, when you have people
Mhm.
flipping desks,
Mhm.
throwing chairs, pencils, scissors.
But in the ideal world, we would have one-on-one aids for these students. We would have, instead we're having 6 kids mainstreamed into the classroom with hopefully the IEP paperwork's gone to the teacher ahead of time and you
Oh,
don't
maybe.
know.
Yeah.
And so you have one person with all these kids in their room and some of them are screamers and yellers, but
When I taught high school band and color guard, and we had problem kids, but we did not. We had more support from the parents and less push to be inclusive of someone with bad behavior. There was a much stouter line between this is acceptable in this environment and this is not acceptable in this environment. And so because that line was so hard and so opaque, it was easier to gain support from the parents because they knew what the school's expectation was. But now the
No.
school's expectation is, no, the science says, okay, let's go ahead and include the kids because it does help them with their social skills. But at the same time, and I'm just going to call them out, it's the parents' fault for not making sure that outside of the classroom they are being socialized.
Mhm.
That's not a place for experimentation. And I feel at this point, just because we're trying to overcompensate, because when we learn something new, we tend to overcompensate first and then we have to drop back. I think that's what period and what movement and modality the education system is in right now.
I think you're right.
It's true.
I don't think the other way is the proper way because I did see a lot of kids miss out on really valuable education
Mhm.
from not being included. But now at the same time, this is like a Jekyll and Hyde situation, and it just can't be controlled until somebody puts their foot down and draws a big old line again, and we reevaluate.
We see the pendulum swing in education all the time, and it has swung really far in both directions, and I feel like at some point it's got to swing back toward some sort of balance. Or
I mean, we just need to take the
something.
weight off of the pendulum so that the gravity
Or-
doesn't make it go one way or the other.
Well, we'll
You
make
know?
progress, but they still won't put money towards, like, we need
No,
more
you
people.
do need
No,
money.
instead we're just require every single teacher to have this very minimal training, and that's going to
Yeah.
cover it all.
Here's a pizza lunch.
Yeah. Hey, it was Halloween, so there's going to be candy in the lounge. You have that to look forward to. You go for it. Hey, guys, guess what?
What?
We have a Patreon.
Ooh, I love
That's
It's the most
Patreon.
wonderful thing I've heard all year.
It is. We have a Patreon, and for as little as $5 a month, you get access to all kinds of bonus features, B footage, and our little Facebook group. At some point, we'll have movie parties again. It's going to be amazing. You guys should sign up and do it now. And I want to thank our patrons right now because they bought us some of the best champagne that Winco has to offer, as well as an amazing spread of food that we're munching on while we eat this. So thank you, patrons. We
We love you,
appreciate it and love
patrons.
you guys.
you.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Pretzel rolls.
Yeah, I love the pretzel.
Yes.
My favorite point. Once a month, I get pretzel roll sandwiches. All right, today for Would You Rather. So, I already got my answer for this. Would you rather have things randomly explode when you touch them? Randomly, never know. Or everyone you have ever had sex with automatically switches teams? I mean, they don't.
I mean, they can switch
automatically.
teams.
Listen, I
I'm okay with that if we're done now.
That's good for
Peace
them.
out.
off the record. Well, never mind.
Is that including the person I'm currently having sex with?
Sorry about that, Bunny.
Yikes. Okay.
He is a good dresser.
Okay, so does it have to be all the way like opposing team? Or is it just like
all of a sudden,
a free agent situation where
Semantics.
like
and then
you go
others are coming in.
like what?
No, go ahead. Go.
No, I was gonna like are we talking like adding something on or are we talking like switching completely for our
Everyone you ever have sex with automatically switches teams. So if they played for like the Cowboys,
But now Eagles.
yeah, they're Eagles now. I haven't dated a lot of athletes, so I'm pretty sure I just get a lot of angry lesbians. I'll cut that one out.
I mean, I know my
So what are you gonna go? So count? Are things going to randomly explode, or everyone you ever have anyone you ever have sex with?
Anyone I've ever had sex with is probably going to switch to the other team. And here's why. I would really be upset if I went to like pick up a small child. And this is what I thought about because I was holding it. I rocked the baby to sleep yesterday. But like, what if they woke up from a nap and I went to pick them up? And then, yeah. So now I'm traumatized for life. Meanwhile, I had 3 ex-girlfriends who have switched to the other team and I'm proud of them and they're happy and their partners are amazing. That's okay.
What are you doing to
That's
women?
okay.
Just joking.
So I
what he's
can
not
answer this
doing.
question. I can answer that question too. I've been told.
Oh,
oh
But yeah, I can't do the random combustion.
the baby sealed it for me. I mean, there really wasn't much doubt, but just picking up my kid or a dog or a puppy. Buddy, imagine if you saw a cute little kitty cat walking down the street and you went to go pick it up and poof, just fur everywhere. And,
yeah, no, my answer had already been selected, but that
yeah.
that did solidify it. So I will also be going with bidding my
You know, I'd use it like a
People
contest.
farewell.
I'd be like, hey, if you have sex with me, I guarantee you will love women. And what if it's like a gay woman who wants to become straight? And like, she was like, you know what? I feel like this is too much for me right now. I have no choice about this. I'm like, I'm your answer.
If business proposition,
I am straight camp. I will, maybe not, but I'll take that over everything exploding. Lucille, what about you?
I'll just wear gloves.
Because
no glove, no love. Oh wait, no. The other
I will
way.
wear I will wear real gloves.
like Rogue.
So you found
from
a
X-Men.
loophole.
Yeah, you just don't touch
so
it.
you don't actually.
Until your gloves explode.
So you
So
use your
many gloves.
powers for evil or good, depending on what you want to. Like I know a couple people that I'd go touch their cars right now and let them explode, or like, or
But randomly explodes, so you don't know if it's going to work or not.
I would take the glove off. Like I would use it. Like I would intentionally know what I'm doing. Take that
Like
thing
Rogue.
off.
Mhm.
And I would do it sexy. with my teeth. I pull it off and just.
Hope that it touches and it blows.
There you go.
Okay.
I mean, you got to think about how you're using it. But gloves always.
I think that's the answer, because
For protection.
there's some of those partners I have that I really enjoy, and the follow-up sessions are amazing. So I'd hate to see those go away. Because one and done's first time's not always the best. Just saying.
I mean, if you don't like the person,
That's
and you're
true.
like, I'll turn you could just blow them up.
Oh no, this would be great. It's true. The options for tonight, miss, is either you're going to be gay after this or exploded. So, I mean, so date me. I'm your winner. And yet some would still choose me in that. All right, folks. Well, thanks for choosing Teacher Needs a Drink podcast. I'm so glad you guys listened. I'm grateful for Lucille Lane for hosting us here right now, and for Ms. Bunny O'Hare, and for Count. Oh, all right, everyone. Deep breaths, deep drinks. Cheers!
Cheers to people.
All right, my friends, thanks for joining us for another episode of Teacher Needs a Drink podcast. I'd thank my hosts who were with me today. We had Count Chocolate, Bunny O'Hare, Lucille Lane, and actually we had an extra who jumped in halfway through, and I did introduce her, and I'm not sure why I didn't introduce her at the end, but we also had Miss Tori who was there, and so she was awesome. I appreciate her jumping in because she was the shit. All right, my friends, take care of yourselves, take it easy. Thanksgiving's around the corner. We got this. Deep breaths, deep drinks, all of it. Cheers.